In regards to Cormac McCarthy's style, he is not one to produce what one might consider easy reading, as he is not shy about presenting his readers with challenges, from applying unconventional narrative techniques to adding digressions, dream sequences, and using both interior and exterior monologues to keep the story churning. He continuously expects focus from his reader. He would have made Faulkner proud, or so one might hope. Now, as for his writing, he was somewhat paradoxical in his approach, both working intensely and planning the elements of a story down to its most minute details in some works, while doing as little pre-planning as possible and letting the words channel through him on other works. One source claims that he would work on multiple projects at once and would dedicate hours to each project on a daily basis, working tirelessly as he wrote, reading vast amounts of books and philosophizing about themes. In an interview, he referred to Henry Miller and would, like Miller, sit down before his typewriter and patiently wait until his fingers began to move. Echoing what Henry Miller had said, that when in Paris he would sit before his typewriter and say, "Excuse me, my French speakers, j'écoute," meaning I listen or I am listening, then write as if he was taking dictation. Now, in an interview with Rolling Stone magazine, McCarthy went further into detail concerning when outlines could be useful and when not, saying, "If you're writing mystery stories or something, you might want to have an outline, because it all has to have a logic and fall into place and have a beginning, a middle, and an end. But if you're writing a novel, the best things just sort of come out of the blue. It's a subconscious process. You don't really know what you're doing most of the time." Cormac wrote by hand, rising at 6 in the morning, every morning, 7 days a week, working until early afternoon. After the handwriting process, he then typed or had his words typed on the same typewriter he used for nearly 50 years. He used his Olivetti Latera 32 to write nearly all of his fiction, screenplays, and correspondence from 1960 to 2009. Well, the exact brand has been disputed, but we'll go with that. Then in 2009, the typewriter was auctioned by Christie's to benefit the Santa Fe Institute and was sold to an unidentified American collector for $254,500, more than 10 times its estimate. Now, a friend of McCarthy replaced the typewriter for him with a typewriter of the same exact model in a newer condition for the grand cost of $11. McCarthy would spend most of his adult life outside the ring of the campfire, refusing to be a part of the literary world taking place someplace in the distance. He refused to teach or dip his toe in journalism. He gave no readings or blurbs to a book and granted close to no interviews in the first few decades of his career. Early on, his novels never sold more than 5,000 copies in hardcover, and because of this, and maybe for other reasons as well, he never had an agent. He struggled, had little money, no money, could not afford toothpaste at one point, being temporarily relieved when he found a free sample in his mailbox. However, he kept doing what he felt he needed to do, what he enjoyed doing. He kept writing. Now, later, as I'm sure you know, he would find great success with The Road and even worked with the Coen brothers. But more on that later.